Hey guys, just recording a new video for you. This is video number 3, Q&A with Greg the Guitar Guy. Anyway, I had some really good questions from a couple of you guys out there, and some of them really make me think and kind of get me thinking back of cool things that I've worked on or challenging type of projects or certain jobs or finishes, stuff like that. But pretty cool questions. I really appreciate it. Anyway, I want to get into this and hopefully not be quite as lengthy. I know some of my videos, well, most of them have been in the 20-minute range so far, other than the introductory video. But I'm trying to keep things simple and but give you guys some cool insight and maybe a little bit more detail. Let me know if I'm kind of rambling on too much, and I can kind of condense some of my stuff for you. Anyway, I have a question from at Josh Swagger 24, or Jack Swagger, I'm sorry, Jack Swagger 24, that's Josh. Getting into product demos, like for gear, pickup, stuff like that. How does one get into that? You know, technically as a builder, I don't really have too much experience in that, but I know a lot of it works from just getting to know, you know, maybe A&R guys and artist relations guys, and getting into you know, working with product managers, stuff like that. They'll usually hook up friends, or you know, it's not so much a buddy deal, but it is who you know, just like anything. And you want to have the skills, you want to have the name, you want to be recognizable by people. Those are the usual qualifying criteria. I mean, it's not always the case. Sometimes it's just someone who can play well. They might not have a lot of followers or a lot of exposure out there to really be, you know, considered a celebrity or anything like that. But you know, maybe you just click with somebody and you think, hey, this guy's a good player, I'll give him a shot, type of thing. So sometimes it's just knowing the right people, and those people believing in you and seeing what you can do, and thinking that you're going to add value to their product, or you know, whatever it is that they're trying to sell. So that would be my thing, is just you know, on the builder side, I don't get into too much of that. I let the artist relations guys do their jobs, and you know, all the marketing and sales guys do their jobs and stuff like that. Just try to give them, you know, give them pointers with certain things, but other than that, we all have our individual roles to fill. So I would say, you know, like build relationships with artist relations guys, stuff like that, and continue to just build your presence online. Social media these days really changes everything. It's a way to it's a platform for you to be able to present your ideas, and also, you know, build your own brand, so to speak. So that's the thing. I'm not the best at all that. Obviously, I haven't been doing this stuff very long, but that's just what I see out there as far as, you know, guys, you know, YouTubers, stuff like that. It's a good platform to be able to get you, you know, present your product or yourself, your brand out there, and get recognized and noticed. Coolest guitar project, same question, or not the same question, but same person at Jack Swagger 24, Josh. Thanks for another cool question, Josh. Coolest guitar project that I've ever worked on, and how did it come about? Without a doubt, it was working on the project for the EVH Frankenstein when that first came out. So those guitars were retail at 25 grand. And it was basically a replica, exact replica, as exact as humans could get it. Exact replica of Eddie's Frankenstein guitar. And working on that project to me was like kind of like the pinnacle or the highlight. And I was lucky enough to be brought on to that project by my friend and great builder, great person, Chip Ellis. And Chip, he was working behind the scenes, kind of working on creating a replica copy of that guitar the best that he could without even seeing the guitar or having the guitar in his hands. So he just basically studied the Frankenstein pictures and anything he can get his hands on. You know, that guitar for me, that was the, you know, the coolest, most recognizable guitar on the face of the earth for me. And I grew up with that guitar on my, you know, pictures of that guitar on my wall. I was a Van Halen freak, still am. And so working on that project was pretty awesome. Anyways, Chip made the first copy of it. Eddie loved it, and they decided they were going to go into basically do a limited run. And it was 300 worldwide. So my specific role with that was developing the final and defining the final assembly process on those, and kind of doing a time study as far as what it would take through the final assembly process. So the numbers guys, the number crunchers can, you know, now that's a little bit what I do now, but now the numbers guys could figure out, okay, how much is this project going to cost, all that stuff. So I did the time study on I basically assembled the first 25 Frankensteins out there that went out to dealers and everything. Those are pretty cool. Nailing all the little details and nuances of his original guitar. I've actually got to hold that guitar in my hand, study it, and just figure out all the little weirdness. You know, some of the stuff that was on Eddie's guitar itself was pretty weird, and not many people realize that. So sometimes dealers would get those guitars and not realize like exactly how much we tried to nail the weird quirks or weirdness that were on Eddie's, you know, actual guitar. So that was probably the funnest thing, you know, getting to meet Van Halen up at his studio and swap out pickups one day. I went up there one day to kind of, you know, swap out. We took up about 8 prototypes or so, and I was swapping pickups out on his favorite ones, and so we can A/B pickups in different prototype guitars. And so it was not only trying out guitars, it was also testing pickups that the pickup department were making for his models, and so the Wolfgang model. So I would say those projects and that specific project working on the Frankenstein was really cool, and I'm very thankful to be a part of that, and thankful to Chip Ellis for bringing me on that project. You know, he's a good dude. Let's see here. Hardest finish on a guitar. I would say, as far as paint wise, that I've done personally would be metallics. And, you know, believe it or not, metallic finishes, you have to do a lot of prep on those, and you have to sand those perfect. Otherwise you see every little flaw or mistake or whatever that's underneath the paint itself. And this goes back, like when I was at Jackson, my first Jackson, we were able to make guitars and logo them and everything. Basically, we can make our own production, you know, or custom instruments. And my first Jackson didn't quite get it sanded out right, and I did this fine metallic silver on it, and it ended up looking like junk. So ended up having to sand it and really making sure it looked right, and repainting it. So it was killer when it was done. But metallics are really hard, especially like fine metallics and stuff. You can get away with a little bit more, obviously, with metal flakes because the flakes are so big. But fine metallics, those pearls and everything, they go into the scratches that are underneath the you know, the paint. So you want to make sure the surface is smooth, prepped well, completely flawless. Basically, it's going to look that much better. You see stuff all the time on metallic guitars. Next time you see one, try to find some, you know, you usually won't see stuff like that on higher end guitars, but you see it a lot on import models and stuff like that, where, you know, the price point's a little bit lower, so they don't spend as much time with the fine details. So that's specifically for me, that's what comes to mind is metallics. Satin finishes, a lot of people don't realize that satin, they can be troublesome on their own because you can get little spits on the finish, and I've had to refinish satin guitars in the past because they have little spits and they don't look quite even. And so satin, even though it's easier in one respect as far as the overall labor, it's with buffing, you don't have to buff them, but you have to make sure that satin lays down flat, clean, and nice. You don't get any kind of weirdness, because you can't really fix that after the fact. for the most part. That was from Ken Straightman. Good question, Ken. Thank you. As far as challenges for me, so from Ken as well, challenges for me as a guitar builder, just right off the top of my head, I would say challenges for me as a guitar builder, I would say maybe coming up with something new or something that hasn't been done before, or trying to create something that an idea in my head that I might want to see, and that to me is kind of like the biggest challenge. Everything else is really just mapping out your steps and processes and figuring out what you're working with and doing an experimentation with something that you haven't worked with before. So there's less mistakes these days than there were when I first started. I didn't just go for something and not know how something worked, like say how a certain material was bent, or how you could adhere it, or how you could just work it, that kind of thing. You learn that, okay, let's think about what you're doing and map out your steps so you have a lot less mistakes. So I would say the biggest challenges for me as a guitar builder, new ideas, something new, exciting, creative that other people really haven't done. That's a challenge, and then still have it to where people are going to accept it. That's the other thing, more traditional. Another question that I recall seeing, and I'm trying to recall off the top of my head. I usually write this stuff down, and so I have an idea what the questions were. But sometimes the questions, they're asked in different spots, so I kind of get lost with getting all of them. And I apologize if I miss anybody's question that's waiting for one. I can't really recall any question right now that other than something that I have to do a demo, like a demonstration of maybe working on something, or a demonstration. I'll get into those. I'll have to get more set up for that before I get into product demos, or get into like tech, doing tech work and kind of showing you guys how to do certain things like Floyd setups. I still plan on doing stuff like that as well. I was asked about that. That's a good idea. I'm just going to go into, see a lot lately, people, looking for repair techs and how they choose to go with those repair techs and everything. And honestly, I got a little bit of cold right now, and I'm hoping I'm not getting that flu. But anyway, that's going around. How to pick a repair tech. I think this is a good topic for you guys. And you some of you guys are incredible players and everything, but you might not necessarily work on your own guitars, or you just have someone do it. And you might think that someone works at a guitar factory, a guitar company, or whatever, they have the chops to do certain things. And really what it's about is the amount of actual experience that person, that company, that whatever it is, has actually performed that type of work. If someone's never done a refret before, then you don't really want to take your guitar to that whoever, that tech or that repair guy or whatever. You want to kind of find out, how many neck re-glues they've done, how many refrets have they done. Take a little bit of time in researching it, rather than just, you see a presentation. Some people are better marketers than they are at what their actual service is. So that's something you have to keep in mind too, that the presentation doesn't always match the quality, quality of service, the quality of work you're going to get. So you want to kind of pick their brain, kind of ask around, see if you can identify other people who have used them, kind of get feedback from other customers that maybe went there, things like that. In this day and age, everyone's kind of posting their stuff and posting everything they do, and you can kind of get a track record of what their real experience is based on those posts, especially if it's kind of like a newer company that just started the last few months, or within the last year or two. It takes a long time to become really good at doing refret, really good at doing some of the more intricate, precise, some of the more complicated repairs. Like I said, if you have a neck break, stuff like that, I've seen For example, my dad's Les Paul, it was busted a couple times, the neck, and the guy that did the repair, he did a horrible job. Learning later what, how bad of a job he did. He put in a spline and it ended up weakening the joint instead of him just doing a simple reglue, which all it would have taken to fix it. It ended up destroying that neck because the neck kept wanting to break in that spot. And typically when you reglue something, it's never going to break in that spot again. It's going to break somewhere else when it does, or if it does break. So it's real important to kind of get some insight, get some, you're taking some of your most valuable possessions, regardless of the value or how much they cost. They're worth something to you, so you don't just want to take your guitar to anybody. I've done hundreds of refrets in my day. And a lot of those mistakes I made early on. So everybody's got to start somewhere, but you don't want to take your favorite guitar to somebody when they're just starting out. And that's my advice. Just kind of get an idea of how much actual experience they have. There's a lot of people start in guitar building or guitar repair, guitar teching and stuff like that, and they're really green at it, they're new at it, and they're excited, and they really believe they have the chops and everything, and and they mean well and everything, but again, you just want to look for someone who's had a little bit more experience and who's kind of made all those mistakes early on. I'm not saying you have to go with someone who's been around 100 years or anything like that, like me, but you do want to be a little bit selective when you're taking like I said, your favorite instrument to somebody to work on. So I think that's as far as video this week. I think just going to leave you with that. Just give you some things to think about. If you have any more questions regarding that, or if you have any other ideas, or if you have any other type of any other things, or me to elaborate on certain things that I mentioned, just let me know in the comments. I really appreciate you guys watching. Okay. All right, have a good week. Bye.